What is up? This is your LA in a Minute, and a couple weeks ago on the In a Minute with Evan Lovett podcast, I announced my first ever One Thing to Do in LA This Week challenge, and we have a winner. There were 200 people that started it, 28 that completed the challenge of visiting all 15 locations throughout Los Angeles as their one thing to do in LA this week. So I got to give it up for the winner, Charles Hank Arendall. So without further ado, let's get into it. So that first shot was Hank at Winchell's, which was LA's donut shop and the first big donut chain started by Vern Winchell in 1948. Hank also visited the abandoned zoo at Griffith Park, which is kind of eerie, but also pretty cool to walk around. Here's Hank in front of Bob's Big Boy, which is LA's oldest fast food chain and was started by Bob Weon, who was actually voted least likely to succeed in his high school class. This is Hank in front of the Hall of Crucifixion at Forest Lawn. I talk about this all the time. The world's largest religious painting is inside the crucifixion, 195 feet long, 40 feet tall. Here's Hank in front of one of my absolute favorite places to go in Los Angeles, the Great Wall of Los Angeles, which was painted by Judy Baca and Spark, which is her team of artists back in the late 70s and early 80s, depicting the history of Los Angeles through the eyes of underrepresented people from prehistoric times to present. That's in Valley Glen. Here's Hank in front of San Antonio Winery, LA's oldest winery in the city that used to be a city of wineries, but Prohibition stopped all that, but not for San Antonio Winery, because they were able to make sacramental wine because of explicit permission from the Pope during Prohibition. This is Hank in front of Pioneer Chicken. You know I love Pioneer Chicken. They used to run Los Angeles until they all disappeared overnight because the founder, H.R. Kaufman, bought a city, Blue Jay, and tried to build it into the next Big Bear Lake Arrowhead. His funds got all commingled, stopped paying taxes. FBI actually came in, basically took over all the pioneers, made them sell to Popeyes, except for two, Boyle Heights and Bell Gardens. And Hank made it to this one. Hank also made it to Universal City, specifically Campo de Cahuenga, which is where Fremont and Pico met to agree to put down arms to stop the Mexican-American War, leading to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and Los Angeles and California becoming part of the United States. Hank in front of the Vincent Thomas Bridge at the Port of Los Angeles, one of just my favorite visual sights. During the daytime, you could see it's kind of a cool teal cover, but even just getting down to San Pedro as part of this challenge, all before midnight, man, Hank, dedication, appreciate you. Here's Hank at the Watts Towers, one of the most impressive handmade monuments in the entire world. Simon Rodia spent 3 decades using pieces, metal, glass, shards to put these together. And the city wanted to tear them down in the 1960s until they withstood 50,000 pounds of pressure. And again, this was one man, Simon Rodia, who created this right there in Watts. Go see it. Hank also made it to the Venice canals, underrated. Just Venice is a great place, but the canals are such a cool story. Again, this used to be swampland, marshland until Abbot Kinney dredged out canals and based it on Venice, Italy, but made it Venice in America. And they're still there and they're a great place to visit. Here's Hank in a nighttime scene. Hope you didn't go in there at night, man. It could be dangerous. Sunken City in San Pedro. One of the coolest things in LA. The ruins of a city that fell into the Pacific Ocean. Also down there in San Pedro. Hank in front of my favorite monument to Los Angeles, the 6th Street Viaduct. What more can be said? It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's fun. Get over there. Enjoy, especially to drive from Boyle Heights into downtown Los Angeles. Hank at Olvera Street, the birthplace of LA. Hank also made it to the La Brea Tar Pits right there on Miracle Mile. Saber-tooth tigers. What more do I need to say? And lastly, Hank made it to a newsstand. So important to me because there are only 7 left in Los Angeles. And I am a journalist at heart, and print is what I really love. So celebrate that, and celebrate Hank for being the first winner of the One Thing to Do in LA This Week challenge on the In a Minute with Evan Lovett podcast. Thank you to everybody who participated. Your hats, your shirts are getting sent in the mail today. Hank, let's meet up. Let's have lunch. All right, man. Thank you for competing in the challenge. All right, LA, it's been a minute.